Good evening. Welcome to What's Neat Show number 108. And we are going to be talking about wonderful model road subjects tonight. And let's go Blues.
Rock and roll.
Let's go. All right.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by the Gateway St. Louis 2020 NMRA. Meet me in St. Louis, July 12th through the 18th, 2020. For more information on this, check out their website at www.gateway2020.org. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast.
This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 108 for March 7th, 2020. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat Show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And tonight we've got a great audience. Let me hear it, guys.
All right.
Tonight I've got with me Brad Joseph. You'll remember Brad as a great model railroader who built the beautiful layout, that Union Pacific layout that we featured in What's Neat at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And tonight he's going to talk about a lot of the clinics coming up in this wonderful convention, the NMRA Convention, Gateway 2020. Look at that beautiful sign. The 12th through the 18th of July, 2020. I've also got James Regier with me this evening. He's got a lot of stories to talk about his Arizona trip and where he's been for the past. We've missed you, James. And I've also got our favorite Daniel Coombs with me tonight. Daniel.
How you guys doing?
We love you, buddy.
Thanks.
So many people love Daniel Coombs. I want to say that the weather here in St. Louis has been absolutely delightful this week. We've had temperatures in the 60s and 70s and sunshine every day. I haven't done any photo shoots this week, but I have had the opportunity to work on the Garden Railroad. As you've seen last week, we had the folks from LGB, Gail Cousins, and his wonderful wife, Stacy Cousins, were here on the show, and they showed off that wonderful set of locomotives. Those beautiful engines.
Oh, they were magnificent.
Oh, yeah. That video just came out last night, correct?
Yeah, it did, yeah. Yeah, you put it up on as a segue to kind of what it was about, right?
These are absolutely spectacular.
I can tell that Brad wants a set. And the fact is, we can now get those running outside because there is a process to the Garden Railroad outside because after the winter time is over, there's a lot of maintenance that you have to do. Generally, I have to go out there and replace a lot of broken ties. The ties get broken up from kids playing out there. They step on it, the deer step on it, the raccoons mess it up, and the ties just otherwise get broken off. So it's a normal process every 2 years to go through the microengineering track and just replace a few of the 6-inch sections of ties on the 6-foot pieces of rail to fix this.
Ken, do you ever run any possum problems with
the possums trip over it, the raccoons trip over it. They don't chew on it. It's not like if you got a bad dog and it chews your shoes. It's more or less the elements. Microengineering treats this plastic with a material that keeps it from breaking down in sunlight. They mix it into the plastic when they pour it. But the beauty of microengineering track are the scale ties. And I use code, I think it's about 200 to 225, something like that, rail. So it's very light rail. It looks good outside, and it goes great with this track with the very fine spikes on it. So that's why I do it. But the process includes, well, what generally happens out there is as the ties break off, I've got all my tracks soldered together with jumper wire so that I have complete continuity on all 400 feet of track out there. So I've got to take a torch and I've got to heat up the heavy rail quickly, unpull off these wires so that I can actually pull out the whole section of track, the 6-foot section, bring it in the house, and then I'm able to slide the new ties back onto the track and then take it back out and replace it. Another thing that I think is interesting in the process this week that I think you'll find fascinating, so many times people have said, don't ever use acid core solder when you're doing your electrical work. Nonsense. It's solder so fast, I love it, and it works.
Solder.
But what happens is, and no it's not, you want to use rosin solder when you do your electrical work out there because let me show you an example. These are the power feed wires that I use. I like to use this speaker wire, this blue wire that you get from Walmart, as you can see in this video clip. This is a very nice 16 to 14 gauge wire that I use out there. And coming off of the bus wires that run underneath the cement, I've got good continuity and it works great. Now let me show you a section of the layout where I used acid solder, acid rosin. And as you can see, this section of feeder wires is brittle. In fact, the plastic is completely peeled off. And if you
Okay.
look at the wires underneath, they're all white. What happens is the acid solder wicks. It wicks up into the wire in the plastic. And
Okay.
over a period of a year and a half, it degrades and eats, like an acid, the copper. And as you can see, it's very brittle and it's useless. So these
fair
sections
enough.
of wire have got to be replaced. My fault, I took a shortcut, live and learn, I've done it before. I did this on the Midwest Valley Modelers layout about 14 years ago and had to replace all of the cables between the modules one time. So it's not the first time I've learned my lesson. You'd think I learned the first time. Sometimes ask my wife, I don't. But it all worked out, so rock and roll. We're going to have the Garden Railroad running so that the next time that the folks from LGB come out here, we can share some crocodiles and some of the other wonderful European models that they have to offer that we can show off out on the Garden Railroad. And with that, I got to tell you what, James and Brad, guys, let's start with Brad. I know, Brad, you kind of want to talk about a few things tonight. Clinics and all kinds of stuff. Where do you want to start?
I always got a batch of stuff on my agenda, but I got to say, I went out to the 150th anniversary of the Drive the Golden Spike, and LGB had those locomotives on display at the Ogden Depot and up actually at Promontory Summit at the actual event with the real locomotives in the background. It was very cool. They are spectacular, I got to say. Pretty rare. What they're going to build only a couple hundred sets of those, huh? So that'd be a nice
Yeah, it's
collectible
limited
item.
edition
The
too.
prototypes were built, the ones that they built off of the originals, I saw a video the other night, they were built in 1979, and these guys built the ones that they built today that you saw at Promontory Summit, the ones I use today. They were actually built better than the originals. The originals were cast.
Yeah.
The boilers were made of cast metal that was bent.
Right.
And these were built even better. It was amazing. There's a video on YouTube that I saw that showed the new 440s being built, those prototypes that replicated the Jupiter and the Union Pacific 119.
Right.
And
Right.
they were absolutely beautiful. If you can find that video on YouTube, just Google it. It's amazing.
The whole manufacturing process was historically accurate too, I understand.
Oh, and in fact, it was new and improved. And they even had Ward Kimball, that famous Disney animator,
Oh, sure.
one of the
Yeah.
four people that helped form the Disney studios. He's the one that did the artwork on the sand domes and those various parts of the locomotives.
Oh, nice.
And when they built the cabs of those locomotives, they thought the second time around that they were so beautiful, they didn't want to paint them. They stained them the original wood color. It was a fascinating 22-minute video on YouTube showing how they rebuilt those two exquisite locomotives.
They came
Oh,
up with
yeah.
all the different colors too from some advanced spectrographic analysis or something.
They sure did.
The blues turned out or appeared to be reds 45 years ago, and so they had the colors all wrong and didn't know it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's
they
very
only
cool.
had one set of drawings, and that was the drawings of number 119 of the boiler and the firebox. And what they did was they took the black and white photographs out of all of the historical publications of the original locomotives, and they took a pair of calipers to them, and they modeled them just like we build our models.
Pretty cool.
Sure.
Oh,
right.
nice.
What
So how
other
about
way?
that?
Very interesting. Yeah, the whole Golden Spike thing has always been a big interest of mine, and those are beautiful. Thanks for that brochure, Ken.
You're awesome.
Well, so what are we starting with tonight? Clinics or volunteers?
Talk to me.
Well, one thing I want to point out, at the Gateway 2020 Convention, we have a large need for volunteer assistance. And we've got a couple programs that I want to talk about a little bit that allow you to volunteer and either earn dollars for the organization you're a member of, or you can earn back registration fees of your own if you invest some time. So our website's going to be updated within about 2 weeks. We did run across a technical glitch. It was supposed to be up and running now. Well, the website is up and running now, but we do not have all the full features on the site. But soon you'll have our volunteer policy, and it goes as such. If you're going to volunteer on behalf of an organization like a model railroad club or a historical society, then the Gateway 2020 will donate $10 per volunteer hour to the participating organization that you're volunteering on behalf of. Now, you'll get a t-shirt, But the organization that you volunteer on behalf of will actually get the monetary compensation. Now, if you're going to volunteer as an individual, you do have to register for the convention, pay the registration fees, but subsequently we will refund you $10 per volunteer hour up until the amount of the total registration fee that you paid. The
Nice,
refund maximum is equal to that registration fee. If you do invest more time, we'll subsequently donate that extra $10 per hour to an organization of your choice. So, that is the volunteer program, and we hope that some of you will give some serious consideration. We have volunteer needs for bus captains, for layout tours, for prototype tours, for silent auction room, security in the model railroad contest rooms, assistance and guidance and docents for the clinic rooms, registration tables, all sorts of needs and assistance with all sorts of time investment that you can get involved in.
That's a bargain.
Yep,
Yeah.
so that'll really help offset your costs and let you have a lot more fun at the convention.
I might consider it, but I'll have to let you know at a later date if I can.
Right on. So now we jump into the next part.
Ooh.
All
There
right.
we go.
So before I start talking about all the clinics here, I gotta recount a little tale that I experienced when I was about 11 at a model railroad convention. There was a very famous modeler by the name of Jock Oliphant, and he was from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And for years he won a lot of contests and was featured in a lot of kit bashing and scratch building stuff in all the magazines. And I was at a clinic of his when I think it was 11 years old. I'm not even sure what that convention was. But I remember talking to the guy, and I asked him, I said, I raised my hand during the clinic and asked a question. I said, what's the one real tip that you could give us so that we could build models the way you do, Jock, And I remember very clearly, and I live by it to this day, strangely enough. He told me every single day he does 3 things on his layout. It might be cutting 3 pieces of wood. It might be cleaning 3 sets of wheels. It might be putting on 3 couplers. It might be gluing 3 pieces on. But every single day he stuck to that and does 3 things every day on his layout. And I work on that very hard. I try to do that every single day. It's been a long time, but I've got a few things accomplished on my layout as a result of that.
How about that?
Huh.
So that's a really cool part about all these clinics. You get to meet the people that have in some cases invented these techniques or products, and they've got the story behind it, and they give you the real insider info that you don't quite get necessarily watching the YouTube videos about how to do something. But listen to the slate of clinics that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have 167 different subject clinics at this point scheduled, with more to come.
Oh, that's awesome.
167 subjects, 76 individual presenters from actual multiple nations, 206 time slots. Many of these clinics are repeated twice, some of them 3 times. We have presentations on railroads in India, China, Japan, France, the UK, and Ireland.
Nice.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
And let me run over a few of these titles.
That's what's so good about
Go
this
ahead.
NMRA show is it's
Yeah.
such a diverse amount of information you can learn.
It is
Right.
incredibly diverse because you have people from all different scales, all different hobbies, all different walks of life, and all different nations.
Yep.
But, for instance, documenting your layout. Unfortunately, my father's layout was destroyed in a fire, and he did not have good documentation. He did have photographs, he had some articles, but this gentleman tells you how to actually document your layout for insurance purposes. Car forwarding with JMRI. JMRI is very popular with Decoder Pro and programming stuff.
They sure are.
But not everybody uses their operations programs. Adding interest to passenger service on your layout. 20/20 vision, designing lighting for your layout so you can see better. I've had bad eyesight since I was a pretty young man, but a lot of people, as they get older, their eyesight gets bad. And how do we mitigate that on our model railroad? Fort Knox Gold Trains. This is a fascinating clinic. The guy sent me 75 words describing this, and this is when they were moving gold back and forth in World War II to support the war effort and how they did it. A gentle intro to Arduino programming. How about that,
How
James?
about
Oh, yeah,
that?
there you
Does
go.
that get you fired up or
One of your
what?
favorite words.
Painting in a post-Floqual world. F units, the engines that killed steam. Well, we're all
Yeah.
going to shed
Oh,
a
yeah.
tear over that.
Yeah.
Painting with pan pastels, business and private cars, CTC, parts 1 and 2. Rail fanning, exotic India. This one sounds very interesting, actually. Using a craft cutting machine for model railroading. You see these in the Michaels stores and all the
Oh, yeah.
scrapbooking stores. I'm not quite sure what this is going to entail, but it sounds interesting. Advanced static ground covers. All kinds of new European materials coming in the country now.
Oh,
and
nice. Yeah.
this is going to be a good one to see. So the gist of this is come to the St. Louis Convention, volunteer, get involved, get to know these people, these organizations, and learn an awful lot about this great hobby by attending the clinics.
Absolutely right. And you've got a new website in development, and that's going to be out when?
We're looking at, I think, the 15th of March.
So the middle of this month, you'll be able to see all of the clinics, and including all of the prototype tours that you heard Bob Amsler discuss on a show 2 shows ago. All of this will be available on the website, so you can read it and then be able to sign up for these events.
Yes, and Ken, I think I misspoke. I'm sorry. We're about 2 weeks away.
About 2
which will be
weeks.
about the 3rd week of March. I said the 15th, but we won't quite be ready.
That's a
then.
lot of
Close
stuff to put on a website, guys.
Yeah, and I have to say, we're very proud. We're still going to be months ahead of where the NMRA Convention was in Kansas City and Salt Lake City. A lot of their stuff wasn't up until late May or June. So we're working hard on it, but it is a lot of work to put it together.
That's amazing. This week is the Rocky Mountain Train Show out in Denver, Colorado. And I know our buddy Chris Palomares is out there working very hard today and tomorrow out there. And he told me that Athearn is coming out with the brand new SD60E locomotives.
Oh, yeah.
I know. He calls them the Triclops. These are the locomotives that came out in 1988 through 1989, and these ran aside next to the SD90s that you're all familiar with. But the SD60s are beautiful. These are the locomotives with the 3 windows on the front. You remember the Union Pacifics here in St. Louis used to pull the stack trains with those beautiful eagles on them, the red eagles for that consist. They come in N and S. They're coming in Burlington Northern and Union Pacific, and of course they've got the various, you're going to see Prime for Grimes in these before it's over with, I know you will, in the BNSF paint schemes and the BNN paint schemes. So look forward to these. Check these all out at Athearn's website at athearntrains.com. And James Regier, I know you've been traveling. Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, so this was mid-February. We went, to, Allison and I went, took the kids and went to visit her sister in Chandler, Arizona. And of course, this was the weekend when I think it hit about 6 degrees, or was it even 0 here in St. Louis that weekend.
Oh.
I was following it on the weather maps, and
Well,
I thought
you're enjoying the warm weather.
and we were enjoying the the 70s in the afternoon and the very frigid low of about 40 in the morning. But at any rate, my sister-in-law was very accommodating, and she scheduled us to go to the Arizona Railway Museum, which is a really nice place there in Chandler. They have an original Super Chief Pleasure Dome there, the Plaza Taos that they've been restoring. So we actually climbed up, went into the dome, explored it, looked at the turquoise room. I know you didn't quite get to eat in the turquoise room when you rode the Super Chief. Is that correct?
I didn't, but my dad did.
Your dad did, yeah. That's something you always wish you could have done. From your stories, but they also have newly acquired 2 high-level coaches, a step-down and a standard 72-seat coach that they are restoring to Santa Fe decor on the inside, and that includes some of the original art that they've been putting up. Now, the weekend that I was there, I didn't get to actually go inside these coaches because they were closed. But the last 2 weekends of February, they actually had an open house, and they could tour some of these cars and what they've done with them. And from the photos that some folks have posted on Facebook, they've done an incredible job.
Nice.
Now, we also went to the McCormick-Stillman Railroad Park, and that's there in Scottsdale. And they have a live steam 5/12 scale miniature narrow gauge 282 poled steam train, a tourist excursion that you can go around. I think it's a 2-mile loop that you just ride that train. And it was pretty awesome to watch it behind a living, breathing steam locomotive. And they have club layouts of O, H, O, N, and Z, all in that park, all in one building.
I've heard of that.
Complete with customized stations and buildings to depict Arizona scenes, including a very nicely modeled Flagstaff Station, which I'll be giving a picture of. And a lot of these clubs actually had NCE as their choice of operating system that they were using. And when I posted on Facebook that I was heading to Arizona, one of our viewers, Mike Gillespie, invited me to go visit the Gilbert Model Railroad Club in Gilbert, Arizona, in the basement of the of the Municipal Museum there in Gilbert. And they had a beautiful layout depicting the 4 C's of the Arizona economy, which is cotton, cattle, climate, and the 4th one is, I'm not from Arizona, so it slips me right now. But anyway, thanks to Mike Gillespie for the invite. A lot of very beautifully done, detailed models of local stations, including Glendale, Tempe, Phoenix Union Station. So it was a really good President's Day weekend that we spent.
And I'm
there
glad you
in the
brought
Phoenix
back some of
area.
that warm weather because it's outside right now.
James,
Yeah.
I think it's cholesterol from the Tex-Mex food, if I'm not mistaken. That's the 4th C.
Could be.
So,
Yeah.
so is that the museum in Chandler? Are they going to move that to Williams, Arizona? Because they're building, or they just voted like millions of dollars to build an Arizona Rare Museum in Williams,
How about that?
where the Grand Canyon River takes off.
So far that I know, there's not any plans to move the museum from Chandler, but I haven't been following it necessarily all that closely, so I just wanted to visit it while I was there.
Yeah, sounds excellent. Very cool.
Yeah.
James, who makes these boxcars on the table again? That's our buddy from...
This is Value Trains USA. Yeah.
We haven't talked about them in a long time, but they're on every show.
Yeah.
And all of these beautiful freight cars that you see in front of us that say what's neat this week, including other ones that he makes that have a lot of other, labels and companies. I think they promote, museums as well with their freight cars. These are
Right.
available at their website at valuetrainsusa.com. But check it out, guys. You could own your very own What's Neat This Week boxcar, similar to the ones you see on the table, exactly like the ones you see on the table, in fact. But if you get one of these, please weather it up, because we'd like to see how they turn out. It's really neat the way that happens.
No, I mean, they do a really good job. I mean, each one of them has our logo here on the, they took it from there and they just ran with it. So it's pretty impressive what they've done with all the unique designs.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
they're very amazing.
Daniel, tell me how much you like NCE, brother.
I love it. It's very user-friendly. It's
What do
easy
you
as
like
1, 2,
about it
3.
the most?
I just like, with the Pro Cab over here, similar to the Power Cab, which is their basic setup, that is basically the starter system. The way it fits in your hand. That's what I like about it. The ergonomics of the keypad, it's a breeze for selecting a locomotive. I get it done in like 5 seconds. Bam, I'm running trains, off to the races.
Now, we saw Mike Buddy using it. Would you suggest that system for a beginner?
Yes, I would highly suggest it, so that if they figure they want to upgrade, NCE has many options of upgrading. They got the NCE Powerhouse Pro, which is their 5-amp system. Then they also got a larger 10-amp, but be aware that's kind of for larger scales. Then a tethered version and a radio version.
I love it. NCE, the power of DCC.
Indeed.
Daniel, you're here tonight. People miss you when you're not on the show, and tonight you're here, so you're not missed. What do you got going on, brother?
All right. Well, as you can see in front of me, I got a magazine cover here, and
Ooh, wait a minute.
we all know who
what's
this
coming.
is. Well, this is a gentleman, John Schindler, who is also
On the cover of, he's in Model Railroader magazine. What
He's
month
in
is
Model
that?
Railroader. This is the current month. Let me pull it up here for a minute. March 2020.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it is this month, and see, get some B-roll clips, but he's got a nice article on his St. Louis Junction Railroad, which is a railroad based on 2 sides of the river here. One in St. Louis, and you come down the stairs in the basement, and you look to the right, and then there's Illinois and Madison Yard over.
Okay.
So, and his layout is going to be on the layout tour on the NMRA show here in St. Louis. And it's a quick little article on just how he built it, the folks he had help him. And I believe, James, you and I and Brad, we're all 3 going to his
Yeah,
op
we're going to
session
be operating
Tuesday.
there on Tuesday.
Right on.
And you know what? They were featured on Ken's What's Neat for February. Is that correct?
What month, Daniel?
Yeah, it was February that you did an interview
That was
with
nice.
John.
Joshua Barton and myself went over there and filmed and interviewed him for about 8 minutes and came up with some
Gosh, what
good
beautiful layout
footage.
that guy
Yeah.
has.
So
What?
John actually is in charge of the Gateway 2020 NMRA Convention.
Right?
This is true. Yeah.
That's
Now,
a lot of responsibility.
Boy, no kidding.
I'll
Oh,
just
he's
say,
loving it.
I'll just say too, while we're on the topic of St. Louis layouts in the Model Railroad Press, John Peluso's layout is actually
right.
featured in this month's Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine. So there's a really nice article in there where you can see some pretty neat pictures, get an idea of what his layout is like.
Now, this is something that Joe Fugate had done, right? He went over there and spent about 8 or 10 hours at his layout.
Yeah, that's correct. That's
nice,
correct.
Nice. I can't wait to see that.
And Pete
Yeah.
Smith's last month. Pete Smith's Loon Lake Railway.
Oh, I
his
like
SM3
Pete's layout,
which
yes.
is spectacular.
I
We
shot
love
that
Model
layout way
Railroad
back
Hobbies.
when for Model Railroad Craftsman. What a great man Pete is.
Yep,
He's
I
a
should
very
say.
smart, educated person.
Yep, wonderful fella. He had a ski accident recently, but he's recovered very well. I just talked to him today, as a matter of fact.
I will never have a ski accident because I don't ski.
Me neither.
Good way to avoid ski accidents.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right, guys, anything else going on as we go around the table here? I do want to say that the March 2020 What's Neat just recently came out, and I've been told that readers' comments are very favorable to that video.
What a magnificent show you put together. You've done it again, man.
Oh, man, in that video we interviewed Tony and
Joe Pellegrino.
Pellegrino,
Yeah.
and showed their beautiful operational layout. When I was over there that evening, right before Christmas, I saw 8 or 10 guys diligently operating. They weren't talking except for on the radios, but they were filling out their paperwork, and it was very, very intense. So
Yeah,
operation is something that I am not acclimated towards. I love scenery and run-bys, but these guys, I'm telling you what, they are professionals at it.
Oh, yeah.
We
They-
also get to
They
look.
put a tremendous amount of effort into making sure that everything on their layout runs absolutely with scientific precision. That if there's a slight flaw, they want it documented, they want it flagged, and they want to address it for next time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so everything's designed for operation.
Also,
Just to clarify this, a lot of the flaws on my layout I design on purpose because I don't want mine really to run that well. So I'm creating some of those flaws. If you happen to see them when you're running it, it's all part of the plan.
Well, I look forward to getting acquainted with those flaws sometime.
Fair enough.
So
Me too.
check it out at Model Road Hobbyist Magazine's YouTube site, the March 2020 What's Neat video. Also in that video is Campbell Rice's layout. We interviewed him just as he moved into St. Louis and was just getting started building his layout. Since then, a lot more has transpired, and we're going to go back down there and do a follow-up. Also, I built a trade show N-scale layout. A lot of people ask for N-scale on the show, and we built a small accommodatable layout that would fit in a closet or fit under a bed when you're done using it, but it was very simple using the Kato Unitrack and N-scale on top, plywood top, foam, and wrapped it in oak. It came out really beautiful, and in fact, it's a trade show display that you could see at the Rocky Mountain Train Show this weekend. Chris Palomares has been taking it all over the country since I built that in January. So with that, guys, I think that's going to wrap up number 108 tonight.
Right on. Good
March
show.
7th of 2020.
A lot of good information. A lot
Great
of good subject
guests.
material.
Great hobby, best hobby in the world with the best people in it. Thank you so much. If you've got anything to contribute or would like to show off your work on the show, please check out our Facebook page, What's Neat This Week. You're able to upload photographs on that and show off the beautiful work that you do. And we've got a lot of stuff coming up on there. I check it about once every 15 days. I know Mike Buddy also checks everything on that website for us. Thank you, Mike. And I think he's not here tonight. He's out on vacation somewhere.
He's in
I think
Florida.
so. Florida.
He's in Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's close out this one. Show number 108. Let's go run some trains.
All right.
Thank you.